Hello and welcome to all our viewers watching from all around the world. I'm Lynda Kinkade. Good to have you with us. Ahead on CNN Newsroom, thousands of supporters defy the Kremlin as Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny is laid to rest. Plus, CNN interviews dozens of officials about why aid is not reaching civilians in Gaza and instead is sitting in boxes. And later, scientists fear a seventh mass bleaching event at the Great Barrier Reef.
Live from Atlanta, this is CNN Newsroom with Lynda Kinkade.
Russians are braving the cold and the risk of arrest to pay their respects to opposition leader Alexei Navalny. At his funeral Friday, thousands of people showed up in an open act of defiance to the Kremlin.
Navalny! Navalny! Navalny!
Navalny's supporters chanted his name and some called President Vladimir Putin a killer. That's despite a heavy police presence and the threat of detention. A monitoring group says more than 100 people were arrested while attending memorials for Navalny across Russia. But his supporters say it's a risk worth taking.
Alexei Navalny is the man who gave us hope that Russia could be a different country, that we deserve better. His faith in us, his optimism gave us energy. He is the man who gave us hope that Russia could be a happier country.
Well, for more, Sebastian Shukla joins us from Berlin. Good to have you with us. So we still don't know what killed Navalny, but we do know that even in death, the man who crusaded against corruption has a huge following. And despite the risk in a nation that doesn't tolerate dissent, thousands of people came out to pay respects.
Yeah, morning, Lynda. The pictures that you just showed of the numbers of mourners who came to pay their final respects to Alexei Navalny really tell the story of Navalny's following, because the fear had been that the authorities and the Kremlin had signaled the messaging long enough in advance that, look, there will be a crackdown if people come out en masse, as is often the case in Russia. But what we saw yesterday actually was a less heavy-handed nature from the police, and which meant that thousands of people were able to descend on the cemetery and the church in Moscow to pay their final respects to the former opposition leader. And look, it was something that wasn't necessarily expected, and people were out there in defiance, really using this opportunity not just to protest against what they thought had happened to Alexei Navalny, but also to use the platform and moment to let steam off on what they heard and what they think is going on in the war in Ukraine as well. I want you just to take a listen to some of the sound that we were hearing from people yesterday. So what you hear them shouting there is no to war, and this is something that those forms of dissent, particularly about the war in Ukraine, is very difficult to show in Russia, what it calls its special military operation. There are various restrictions about criticising the government and even the war there, Lynda. So it was a seminal moment for Russia. We do not see outpourings of protests and grief like that in Russia usually, Lynda.
Yeah, we certainly don't. Just incredible scenes there, Sebastian. Of course, Navalny's widow didn't attend the funeral for fears for her safety. How will she continue his mission?
Yeah, what we've seen from Yulia Navalnaya recently has been we've seen a true colour come out of her. You know, she's a strong, confident woman. I mean, imagine losing your husband in a Russian penal colony and not even being able to attend his own funeral. You know, the only family members there yesterday, or close family members at least, were his mother and father. But the messaging that appears to be coming from Yulia Navalnaya and Navalny's team, who will take up the mantle now of supporting her, is that, you know, I will be the one to carry on your legacy. And we've seen her meeting with President Biden and European lawmakers, and she addressed the European Parliament as well this week. But the most moving tribute that came yesterday, I thought in particular, was from Yulia Navalnaya. I want to read to you what she said. I don't know how to live without you, but I will try to make you up there happy for me and proud of me. I don't know if I can handle it, but I will try. And I think the last bit of that is the key signal here, that she will be the person who will take on the message of Alexei Navalny. And people who we spoke to here last night at a vigil in Berlin told us the same. They want to see Yulia become the face of the opposition, even if it means not being able to return to Russia. They see something in her, and within Yulia Navalnaya, there is that same message of that she can carry on the messaging of her husband, Alexei Navalny. Lynda.
All right, Sebastian Shukla in Berlin. We'll leave it there for now. Good to have you with us. Thank you.